Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And after all the Atlanta FaZe drama between Arcitys, aBeZy and the FaZe guys over the last couple of weeks, aBeZy has given further insight into what their plan was during this past off-season, saying that Dashy was never a consideration and never on the table for this team. They wanted a leadership player, the likes of SlasheR, even though Shotzzy apparently was also a consideration. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Loads of new subs recently. Let's keep cracking on towards 86,000. Big numbers we're talking nowadays. Firstly, Doug, rank play cheater, calls him out. He smokes him. Doug's getting ready to go. But, I mean, yeah, this guy's honestly on another level, still playing Call of Duty Vanguard. I can't believe this guy, honestly. Like, legitimately, the Vanguard season is over, and he's still playing Vanguard ranked. I guess you just got to respect it. Now, look, let's dive into some of the FaZe stuff. This is, I don't know, people were talking about these images, right? I think this is where maybe they lost to Thieves. And, look, I'll show you guys in a few minutes' time here kind of a collage I made of all my favorite thumbnail-worthy moments from the season, and this is like another great potential one. I might have to put this on this thumbnail just out of, you know, respect really for what a great kind of shot this is of him looking over at our season thinking, damn, yeah, I can't wait to drop this guy. I don't really know if that's what he's thinking here, but you know what I mean? The FaZe looks like it, to be perfectly honest. So our season now, he's on Los Angeles Guerrillas. The drama for him is kind of over. The buyout has happened. He's going to be on LAG, and hoping that team works out better than last year's squad did on FaZe. Definitely FaZe had a lot of issues last season, right? There was a lot of talk about it from the players themselves, like things weren't so good within that FaZe camp last year. Of course, they came second, 4 times last season. Now, look, if Los Angeles Guerrillas make 4 grand finals, I'd be kind of mind blown, to be perfectly honest. But, you know, look, still, Arcitys, obviously he had a great squad last year, but the team fell apart. The chemistry wasn't working. They kind of said that Arcitys as like a person and as a leader wasn't really delivering the goods that they wanted from their leader player. He wasn't really doing as well as he did back in Cold War. That's what we talked about that aBeZy said yesterday. Now, one of the other things involved here, because I think like FaZe have been relatively clear that they wanted a leader, but during this whole drama, it wasn't so clear that those were the type of players they were kind of going for. And you do have to wonder to some degree whether the FaZe guys are now trying to say, okay, yes, we only wanted a leader, we only really looked at SlasheR and maybe Insight and stuff, just so that, like, you know, SlasheR believes himself that he was the first choice, he was the number one guy, he was the guy that they always wanted to go for type thing, which maybe is true to a certain extent, but doesn't seem necessarily guaranteed on what we'll see in a second, just because that makes the chemistry better, right? If SlasheR believes he was the number one choice, then he's going to be feeling good about himself. And in fairness, right, their search and destroy last year was probably, like, their hardpoint wasn't great at the ends, but their search last year was significantly worse than it was in Cold War, say, where they were like one of the dominant forces with Toronto in that game mode. And last year, this is kind of interesting, FaZe don't even appear on the top first blood percentage. So first blood percentage obviously isn't everything. You can, you know, if you get first blooded and then trade it out, like, you haven't really lost anything at all. But Guerrillas last year had a 58% almost first blood rate. That's far and away above everyone else on the league. OpTic 53%, Toronto, Surge, Minnesota, Rokkr, FaZe not even here. Guerrillas were far and away ahead. Like, maybe, well, a lot of this was due to their Major 2 run, but you suppose that would have been counted out by the rest of it. And that is what SlasheR says, S&D specialist, good at getting those first bloods. And a lot of this honestly does come from SlasheR, right? If you look at some of the numbers here, RC's first blood rate 52 in 42, so he was in 94 first blood engagements, wins the majority of them, and of course had pretty good numbers in search, 1.04. SlasheR's numbers though are way better in terms of search and destroy, 1.19 overall kills per round average damage, and out of 87 first blood engagements for SlasheR, he won 61 of them, right? So yeah, definitely SlasheR reckons S&D specialist, first blood king, and well, maybe that's a key factor for FaZe going into next season. But of course, after the drama of the last few days, aBeZy's talked about like the internal issues and said that Arcitys wasn't dropped for performance, more like, you know, probably wasn't dropped for the search and destroy numbers or the other numbers, more like the leadership wasn't really working out, like, because they know that even if they've got Arcitys dropping a 0.95, it doesn't matter if the leadership is good and the rest of the guys are really delivering the goods. Wasn't really the case this past season. For whatever reason, of course, it's been widely discussed. Now, the big question was, because people were kind of talking about this, right, and even Octane and Maven seem to be kind of jumping on this as an idea, that when OpTic said that Dashy was a restricted free agent and they announced changes from the roster, they of course did the tweets letting go of Dashy and iLLeY and then changed their minds about 2 days later. Like, we theorized, because right when Dashy was a restricted free agent, very shortly after that, Arcitys also became a restricted free agent, right? I think it was like a day after or something. I kind of, the time goes, like, it's difficult to actually remember what happened because that was such a chaotic period. But people were theorizing that, wow, okay, Dashy got dropped. Now FaZe thought, well, you know, we've got to get rid of Arcitys now because Dashy's on the market. They are denying that was ever a possibility, right? Which I believe from what we heard, like, at the time, I think we just theorized, right, that because Arcitys was gone and Dashy was a restricted free agent, and because Dashy and Cell and these guys kind of go way back, it seems plausible plausible that that was actually going to happen. aBeZy says, though, that was never going to be the case. Dashy was never a consideration, and in fairness, I don't know exactly where I heard this from, but a few days after it all went down, I think we did hear from some places that, like, Dashy was, if he was going to get dropped from the team, as it ends up, he didn't, but I don't think he would have gone to FaZe.
No, Ethan. Clay was not one of the people we were looking at.
Back.
And also, the whole, another thing is, I hate the fact that everyone is kind of making it sound like, I hate that everyone's making it sound like that the reason why we were trying to drop aLLeY was for Dashy, and that's just not true at all. Not even close to true, actually. We never even looked into getting Dashy, so I just want to say that for the stream. Thoughts on SlasheR, Austin? I'm very excited to team with Austin. I cannot wait. He's always been known as a great leader, and that's the reason why we wanted him, is because we know that he brings that aspect to our team, and we know what we're going to get out of him, and he's going to be... I'm so stoked to play with Austin and the new team this year. I cannot wait. And a lot of people have been slandering Austin and, like, saying, like, this, that, and all this. I'm like, bro, like, dude, Austin has been a consistently top AR for the past, I don't even know how many years. Like, he's literally been disgusting. I can't believe people are literally trying to throw slander on him and be like, oh, this and that and this and that. Like, bro, like, you guys really just, you obviously just don't watch. Like, this guy's literally a beast. And I'm, like I said, super, super excited. Can't wait for the whole new year. Can't wait to grind the game with the team. It's gonna be great. For sure. They definitely forget. They definitely forget. Like, but like I said, that is all I'm gonna really talk about for the whole aLLeY situation. And we're gonna completely move on from that.
So apparently this roster was never going to be possible, right? Dashy was never going to join this FaZe team. They never even wanted Dashy on the roster. Interesting in fairness, just because, like, thought this team on paper is pretty damn nasty, right? There's a lot of talent on this team. Like, they should just be able to bowl over certain players. But of course, I think what they were looking for, or what they say they were looking for, is a leader, right? I shared the clip of him saying that SlasheR is effectively a better leader, they believe, than what Arcitys was certainly last season. And that's going to be the key to them for having that in-game leader guy to keep the troops in order and also deliver some slaying. Is Dashy going to be the leader for a team? Probably not, right? So this team on paper, like, you'd think even like Simp might have to be the IGL here, so it's probably not exactly what they wanted to do. Therefore, they're saying, or aBeZy saying, that they never even considered Dashy. Some people will take his word on this, some people will not really buy it, because, when Dashy's an option, you've got to at least, part of your mind at least will entertain the possibility. Whether the team actually ever thought it was a viable option, that's another question entirely. But the other part of this, right, is the fact that Shotzzy to FaZe apparently was on the cards. They either reached out to Shotzzy, or Shotzzy reached out for them. This is kind of the interesting question here, because apparently the likes of Hydra and also like Pred and maybe even Sib, right, from the Seattle Surge, these were names that were briefly linked to FaZe. Now, Insight was also linked to FaZe, but apparently because they wanted Insight, and then Toronto said no, but there's other sources that said that actually there were never any negotiations in the first place and FaZe didn't want Insight, so it's a bit of a messy situation, to be honest. But apparently, like, the likes of Hydra, maybe even Pred or Sib or something, they were reaching out to FaZe to try and get FaZe to sign them effectively and buy them out of their deals, because, who wouldn't want to play with FaZe effectively? But then there were other players that FaZe were actually reaching out to, and maybe Shotzzy was one of those guys that FaZe wanted on their team. But in fairness, right, if they were always looking for a leader, why would they get Shotzzy, right? Because, I mean, look, obviously, if you can get Shotzzy, you get Shotzzy, right? And you might as well ask him, because Shotzzy, and if he decides, okay, yeah, screw this, I'll leave it OpTic or something because the team's blowing up, then maybe it could actually have happened. So maybe Shotzzy on that team alongside aBeZy, Simp as the flex, Cell as the main. Like, Simp, I guess, would have to kind of be the IGL in that sense. So, bit of a strange one, right? Because if aBeZy is being super straight up here and basically saying, okay, yeah, we only wanted a leader, we never really considered Dashy because he wasn't really going to be that guy for our team, then, like, if that is truly the case, then why would they have ever wanted Shotzzy, even if they did? So it's kind of difficult to exactly break down exactly what happened here behind the scenes, and even Insight was apparently a player that had interest from FaZe. So, like, I think the majority of the moves that we heard rumored were intending to trade Arcitys for another, like, in-game leader type player, right? So definitely tweet your thoughts in the comment section below. If you were the FaZe guy, guys, and Dashy all of a sudden is a restricted free agent, would you have been hitting up his line, right? Would you have wanted Dashy on the roster? Because, I mean, look, that team on paper is disgusting, but I honestly do think that this team with SlasheR, or even the team with Arcitys, might have been better than the Dashy team, right? I guess on paper, like, okay, the slaying is fantastic, but that roster would have had, like, plenty of risk and downside, right? Like, you think about this roster, is there a clear leader? Like, okay, the Search and Destroy should be fantastic, but I don't know, I think this is honestly kind of risky, because I honestly think this roster, when I first saw it kind of talked about, was like, well, this roster, its ceiling is, like, absolutely immense, right? And the slaying power here is probably the most that's ever been assembled on one particular team. But do the roles actually work out? Do they really make sense? I wouldn't be surprised at all if this team, if it was to have formed, would win like 2 or 3 events, but I think that also like they could easily like go out very early, right? I think the consistency that FaZe have had the last couple of years might not be the same with this team. I think they'd be more up and down, and that's probably not what they want. I honestly think the SlasheR team could be better than this theoretical roster, but you guys might well disagree, of course. There's more to COD than just stats at the end of the day, but it also raises the question, right? If OpTic had kept on going and decided to get rid of Dashy, right, and decided not to move forward with him as he was so close to being off that team, right? We know that now. Like, where actually would he have gone? Because other teams would have wanted him, and if FaZe didn't want him, then where would Dashy have gone? Would he have gone to Toronto? Like, what other options would there have actually been for Dashy? Especially because if FaZe saw Dashy as like a hyper slaying AR, maybe not a leadership AR, then like, it's kind of difficult. You'd have to find a team that would have a flex player in that position. So obviously every team would have had to at least consider the opportunity, but I do wonder where Dashy would have been if OpTic followed through with the move. In the end, of course, they decide not to. Just to mention a few things before we close out the video here, this I thought was pretty fantastic, really. I was looking through, so every so often I go through the kind of template I use to make the thumbnails, and I just clean it up, basically, because it gets a bit messy in there. But of course, there are a load of images that I keep from time to time, just in case I want to use. So I found the favorite ones of the season, put them together. I think it was kind of incredible here. Like, I didn't really think too much about which players I was including. Crim, honestly, has like a large part to play in this. He's got what, 1, 2, 3, like 4, 5, 6, 7. Like, there's at least like 7 of Crim in here, which you gotta respect. This guy's been turning up. I think my favorites probably still are the ones in the top left. I mean, this one from Dashy and then the aBeZy kind of at the year one. Like, these two are world class. These, of course, are recent ones for the World Championship. We've got the Octane double donut in here. Like a Splashy, of course, I had to put him in here. Crim 6 and Crim 7. Like, that was obviously worth it. The Kenny L one, this one actually cracks me up a lot when he like fell down his, I don't know what, he fell over, he tripped over something, and then someone put like an L hitting him in the back, which I thought was pretty good. And there's some other good ones in here as well. There are, of course, some other ones I potentially missed. Like, there's some probably more iconic images of the season here. For example, like, Kenny with the lightsaber and stuff was pretty good. And even TacticalRab was actually replying with some other good ones from the season. Like, I was actually almost going to put this one in, although I had a slightly different variation on this, which maybe you guys have seen before. Like, I was going to put that one in. There's some other good ones. This as well, I almost put in as well, actually, from Shotzzy. And, I mean, yeah, so I think even TacticalRab went on like a real trade here of a load of good ones from the last season or couple of seasons. And like, this one as well was pretty good. Maybe I should have put that one in, I think, for the Pro Classic, maybe. So there were some good ones, but really the only ones I put in were ones that were actually like on thumbnails consistently, rather than like, there could be some iconic images, but if they didn't really fit so well in the thumbnail, then I was kind of excluding them from my list. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one regardless. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button, tell us on YouTube, God, this is a good video, and I was like, you should see it as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care, and I'll see you next time.